Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you are in the world, and welcome to today's webinar, How Packsize Achieved Global Visibility into its Manufacturing Supply Chain with SAP. Hosted by SAP Insider and presented by SAP. I'm Steve Paul, and I'm your moderator today. We have just a few announcements before we begin. You may maximize and minimize all elements of your console, from the slide area to the speaker bios, Q&A, and resource box by clicking on the blue or green icons in the upper right-hand corner of each box. If you do minimize an element and want to see it again, just click on the icon running across the bottom of your console. This webinar is designed to be interactive between you and our presenters, and later in the program we'll ask for your feedback. You can participate in our Q&A session by asking questions about the information presented in this webinar at any time. Just type your question into the Q&A text box located below the speaker bios on the left, and then click the Submit button. We'll answer as many questions as time permits after our presentation. You may enlarge the slide window at any time by clicking on the green icon in the upper right-hand corner of the slide area. Slides will advance automatically throughout the event, and you can also download a copy of the presentation by clicking in the resource box in the bottom left of our console. At this time, we recommend you disable your pop-up blockers. And if you're experiencing any technical problems, please visit our webinar help guide by clicking on the Help question mark icon on the bottom right of our console. And if slides are not advancing, please press your F5 key on your keyboard to refresh your console. And now on to our presentation, How Packsize Achieved Global Visibility into its Manufacturing Supply Chain with SAP. Joining us today is David Fellers, CEO of Bramasol, Inc. I'm going to turn it over to you, Dave.
Thank you, Steve. Hello and welcome everyone to this special presentation about Packsize. I'm going to introduce our three key speakers, including myself, and then review the agenda for you, and then I will turn it over to our gentleman from Packsize that will speak to you today. First of all, I am the CEO of Bramasol. I've been working for 23 years in the information technology space, including 18 years in SAP, and it's been a pleasure to work with Packsize over the last 3 years. And so I will have a few things to say throughout the course of this webinar. I also would like to introduce Emil Bon. He is the Global VP of Organizational Effectiveness and Human Resources for Packsize. He has strategic responsibility for global solutions, including IT for Packsize, as well as strategic partnerships, and has a lot of years of experience in a variety of areas, including information technology. He will be our key featured speaker today, and our second key speaker is Brent Cohen, the Global Controller of Packsize. For the last 3 years, Brent has been the lead driver for the SAP-related initiatives at Packsize, and he will be able to provide a lot of context for you today on that story. Our agenda today is a story about rapid growth and how Packsize embraces technology to drive growth, including how SAP is a part of that story. And so that's the agenda for today, including some information on who Packsize is and the innovative solutions they have, how their success has led to business drivers that allowed them or caused them to look at their future and how they wanted to address the needs of the growth of their business, the process they went through in selecting information technology platform, and the implementation process and the successes and challenges they had with that. Those results that they achieved both immediately and midterm and long term, and where they see the help of SAP with their business, their vision for the future and future technologies, and a little bit about Bramasol's manufacturing presence and how it helped and worked directly with Packsize. So now I'd like to turn it over to Emil, who will lead you through a discussion about Packsize.
Thanks, Dave. Let me just walk you through a little bit about who we are and how we got to be where we are. Packsize was actually founded in 2002 by Henko Kiesner. We're headquartered in Salt Lake City, and the Salt Lake City office handles our business in North America, including Canada and Mexico. Our European headquarters are in northern Germany in the little town of Herford, and all our machines are manufactured in Sweden. So that's location-wise where we are. We have operations in 26 countries. And we really came up with this notion of on-demand packaging to help reduce waste of shipping materials, to lower shipping costs, decrease damage rates in shipping, and increase customer satisfaction. And if you look at the box over in the upper right-hand side of the presentation, you'll see what on-demand packaging does. I think we've all had the experience when we've received a big box, something small in it, and there's all kind of packaging materials and fillers, and our goal is to reduce that. In the bottom corner of this first slide, you will actually see what our operation looks like. In this case, we are showing a picture of the facility, a fulfillment center, and those are our machines there. You'll see 4 of them in all. And we'll get into a little bit more about the machines here in just a second. We work across industries. As I said, we're in the fulfillment business. This seems to be where a lot of our new business is coming from. We also work in cabinetry, windows and doors, furniture, manufacturing, and printing and marketing. As we go to the next slide, we'll actually see what it looks like when how one of our machines is actually working. So what we use is a product called Fanfold, which is just a fancy name for corrugated. And the reason we call it Fanfold is the way, and Z-Fold is the way it's actually stacked. So in this picture, you can see this Fanfold on the left side. It gets fed into one of our machines. And the machine actually can cut the Fanfold and create a box based on input that's put in manually. Input also can come from a scanner's ability to actually scan a product that we want to make a box for. Or it can work through an existing database through a warehouse management system. And if we know what the packages, what the products are that are being shipped, we know exactly what size box to make. So right-size packaging creates a package that's easier to handle, costs less to transport, and makes happy customers. Again, one of the biggest complaints that customers have is when they get a small item in a great big box. So if you want to think about what allows all this to happen, it's software and data. We do make our own machines in Sweden, but the whole key to our success and the success of our customers is software and data. So that allows us to order the corrugated because we do supply the corrugated to our customers. It allows us to pull the box dimension size into the machine so it knows what size boxes to make. And it also provides real-time production information to our shipping partners so that they know what size trucks to pick up the boxes, and then they can also manage their fleet. You may be curious a little bit about how big these machines are. Our biggest machine has a footprint of 19 feet by 22 feet and weighs 8,700 pounds, and that's what we use in the manufacturing and woodworking industry. Our newest machine is much smaller. It has a footprint of 6 feet by 8 feet, and it only weighs 450 pounds, and that's one that we will be using extensively in the fulfillment business. We go to our next slide, start talking about why we chose SAP and Bramasol. First of all, we were looking for visibility across all the different elements of our business: sales, support, service, and manufacturing facilities. And we do have SAP up and running in Germany and in our manufacturing facility in Enköping, Sweden. We also needed to have very detailed insights into our financial and business results. And in a few minutes, Brent will talk a little bit more about what it was like when we were running the business on QuickBooks. The other thing that's critical to our business is inventory management. where our raw materials are, where our finished goods are, and to really make sure we have a very efficient and cost-effective supply chain management system. I was out in the factory in Sweden last week, and we're currently ramping up production of our newest, smallest machine, the IQ Fusion, and we were just talking about how their reliance on SAP is allowing them to source new parts, better manage the supply chain, gives us an idea of what's in production, what's scheduled, and then also for us to track machine shipments. On the next slide, we talk about some of the drivers for selecting SAP and going with Bramasol. Our historic growth rate is 40%. Currently, we're running at 50%. And with the new partners that we're working with, we could easily exceed that 50% growth rate. So when we contacted Bramasol and went with SAP 3 years ago, we needed to make sure we had a solution that allowed us to sustain our current business and was going to make sure that we could grow exponentially, and so it had to solve both the current and future needs. We also knew it had to be a cost-effective solution that could be implemented quickly. I come out of an IT background, and one of the things I've found is that a lot of times implementation does not occur quickly. Another major deciding factor was scalability and flexibility. As I said, we knew we were going to be growing. We had no idea at the time just how fast we were going to be growing. But it had to be scalable and flexible, and we're finding that to be a great advantage now. And then we had to have minimal business interruption. We're simply too small at that time to have disruptions in our business, and between Bramasol and SAP, we really had almost no business interruption at all. So I'm going to hand it off to Britt now to talk about our selection process. And so Britt?
Thanks, Emil. Yeah, so I'd like to just touch a little bit on why and how we selected SAP and Bramasol. And like Emil said, we really wanted a system that would grow with us and that would be scalable and allow us to meet the needs of our customers and even needs we couldn't yet foresee. And so we knew that QuickBooks wasn't that system. And you might wonder, why would you go straight from QuickBooks all the way to SAP? And I often ask myself the same question at first, but I've since come to realize later that it was a great decision. Another reason we did it, quite frankly, was we wanted to have some credibility with our customers, our vendors, and our partners. And SAP is so well known and is seen as the leading system, especially in the manufacturing industry, that we thought it would be a great fit for us and for our customer base. And we've seen that to be the case. SAP has such a strong presence in manufacturing. The reason we went with the SAP All-in-One solution was, as Emil said, we needed something that would give or cause minimal interruption to our business. And the SAP All-in-One solution is kind of just the right size for a mid-market company like ours. And even though we were looking to the future and we needed something that would be scalable going forward into the future and would allow us to meet our customers' needs, we wanted some immediate return. We wanted to see some immediate impact in our business. And so that's why we went with the all-in-one solution. So going on to the next slide, I'd like to talk a little bit about the importance of the leadership at Packsize and how that made the project successful. So at Packsize, we have this disruptive technology, and we see ourselves as being very good at leading complex transformational projects. We do that with our customers all the time. And so our executive team had this vision for the future and said, we need to have a more robust system that will allow us to grow. And by the way, we're going to do this on time, we're going to do it under budget, and we're going to prove that we can do big projects internally just like we do externally with our customers. And, looking back now, we really see how important that decision was. The partners that we're now working with today, we can't imagine ever being in a place where we could engage with them if we had stayed with our old system. So we're really seeing the huge benefit as we move forward and continue to grow rapidly. I'd next like to talk a little bit about the actual implementation process itself. As I said, our executive team demanded that we come in on time and under budget, and we were successful with that in the initial U.S. implementation. In fact, we budgeted a 12-week go-live, which is very aggressive, and we finished in 9 weeks, which was a huge success. And it actually allowed us to then add some functionality that had previously only been on a wish list. So that was an added benefit. And what contributed to us being able to do that was our great partnership with Bramasol and the on-site expert team that they provided. We worked with this team right from the design phase all the way to the testing and data cleaning up and the migration, and they also helped train our teams. Another huge factor that made this successful was to the extent possible, we leveraged the Bramasol expertise, but also the SAP best practices. We didn't want to create the wheel if it wasn't necessary. Now, having said that, there were definitely times when our unique business model required a unique solution. And Bramasol was agile and flexible enough and had the expertise to help create the perfect solution for us, and one that met our customers' needs as well. So I mentioned that not only did we want a system that was large, robust, scalable, but we wanted to see some immediate results. And I guess if I were to summarize some of those results, I'd say overall we just have such greater visibility and a better understanding of our business. And it allowed us to really understand our customers individually. And that's a big win for us, but also a big win for our customers. Instead of finding out there's an issue with a customer several months after the issue arose, we have real-time data and a view of our customers' progress towards commitments that we didn't have before. And that's allowed us to capture revenue at a quicker rate. So it's been a great benefit to our customers, but also to us and our goals internally. Another huge benefit of SAP is now that we've rolled SAP out to all of our subsidiaries on a global level, here in Salt Lake, the executive team has access to that data. And not only do they have access to the data, but it's in the same format in all jurisdictions. And so it's not disjointed. And looking at a P&L in the U.S. is the same as looking at one in Europe. And it makes it easier to read and digest and then act. So, our accounting team may have found at first that it took more time to enter information into SAP. But what we're finding is that increased investment in time has given us a great ROI in the data that we have and that we're able to use to manage our business. Here's some specific internal business metrics that we've been able to measure as a result of the initial implementation. And also, I'd like to touch a little bit on what we have planned for the future and how we see that impacting our business. So I mentioned that we're a global company and we have greater visibility into all of our subsidiaries. And when we implemented SAP in these subsidiaries, you can imagine how much more fluid it is to see the results, but also to see intercompany transactions between subsidiaries, to see balances, payables, receivables. That's made us much more efficient in managing the consolidation and managing all aspects of the intercompany transactions. Our inventory tracking module was pretty archaic before we implemented SAP, and now we have a world-class inventory tracking module, and that we estimate that made us about 25% more efficient in tracking our inventory. And you'll see that going forward we expect more efficiencies. And that is due to the fact that we're implementing and planning on implementing a way for our customers to track the inventory that they order from Packsize. We're working with some customers where this will be a consignment module, for example. I mentioned that a great benefit of implementing SAP and Business-All-In-One was the visibility we have into our data and understanding our business. And we saw an immediate impact in that area. The way that Bramasol was able to really fine-tune SAP for our business, and the way that they dove in and understood the needs of our customers helped us understand our customers. And so the reports we were able to generate, the data that was at our fingertips, was tremendous. And we're currently in the process of implementing the next stage of that, which is called Business Objects. And Business Objects is a reporting tool that sits on top of SAP. It's a product owned by SAP. It sits on top of SAP, and it pulls data from SAP and also some of our other data sources, and puts it in a way we can easily manipulate it and run ad hoc queries and dashboards. And we're very excited for Business Objects and the further visibility we'll have into our business. On order entry efficiency, when we implemented SAP, we estimate and we could measure that we had about 5% fewer errors in our order entry process. Now that's great, but the exciting thing is 3 years later is realizing now that we're about to implement an online ordering system with our customers that we're going to achieve 75% greater efficiency in the order entry process. So what currently takes and causes 47 touch points to take a customer order will be moved down to 3 touch points because of the way that SAP can integrate with an online ordering system. And so when we reached $1 billion in growth, instead of taking 20 people, we estimate it will take 1. And I'd now like to pass it back to Emil to talk a little bit more of our long-term plans and results.
Thanks, Brent. I think as you've listened so far, growth is the sort of the theme, and scalability. So because we do have SAP as our fundamental platform, it allows us to attract big new customers like Staples, Boston Scientific, and some very big partners in the shipping, small package shipping business, and also in the manufacturers, the people that actually build these big fulfillment centers. So what this has allowed us to do is expand our business model beyond what we call the 4 walls, which is in the manufacturing facility, in the fulfillment center, because these partners help us move both upstream into corrugated supply chain all the way up to what we call from forest to fill, where the trees are actually made into the corrugated. So upstream, and then once the packages, the boxes are filled, we can actually start to impact the shipping to the customer, and then how these boxes are actually recycled. So, without SAP, without Bramasol, we would still be contained within the 4 walls. We're also looking for even more revenue growth. As I said, historically we have a 40% growth rate. We're at over 50% now, and based on these partnerships, these new big customers we're bringing in, we'll grow even faster than that. We're also planning for global expansion. We've had visitors recently from Japan. We also have had inquiries from Australia, from Latin America, people who really want to bring the on-demand packaging solution to the rest of the world. Also talked previously about supply chain efficiency, and one of the things that we've tried to learn from others, and I think this is where Bramasol and SAP have been helpful in our learning, is before you you scale, you have to be efficient. Otherwise, the whole business model falls apart fairly quickly. So as Brent's just talked about, we're putting this online ordering system together for our corrugated. And our machines will also be able to produce real-time data that can be supplied to shippers so they can make sure that the right trucks pull up to the facility, that they can better manage their airplane fleet. So, again, it's all based on data, it's all based on software, and that all runs on SAP. So if we talk about the vision for the future, have Brent talk a little bit more about business objects, and then Dave and I can talk about SAP HANA and some of what that means. So Brent, anything else on business objects?
Yeah, let me just touch a little more in detail on business objects. Business objects is very exciting for us, as I mentioned. If you think about the day in the life of a CEO or CFO or maybe a COO, they have so much going on that it'd be nice for them to be able to come in the morning and have a dashboard in front of them, much like the dashboard on a car, that gives them high-level information on the business. Their business objects will do that. So they can come into the office, we'll have customized dashboards available for them that help them manage different aspects of the business. And then as they want more detailed information, and as our users and as we're running our business and our customers require information, business objects will allow us to do ad hoc queries, to query, like I said, different data sources in the company, but really give us much greater visibility and ability to act quickly in servicing our customers.
So if you think about, our machine's ability to produce real-time data, it knows exactly what size packages are being made. Our partners and our big customers, that's what they're really looking to us for. It's in addition to this, of course, the savings from the packaging materials, it's really how do we monetize the data. Because this allows better fleet management, it allows automatic ordering straight from the suppliers to these companies. So it's really the data that's important. And this is what we call scalability on steroids. Until we really had a solid foundation on SAP and with what Bramasol helped us with, we didn't have the scalability, we didn't have the data that we could monetize that our big customers and partners are looking for. So Dave, you want to talk a little bit more about SAP HANA and how Packsize and Bramasol are working to make sure that we can meet the needs of our big customers and these big partners that we're working with.
Yes, thank you, Emil. And as many of you know, but I'll reiterate, HANA is a game-changing technology with the ability to handle real-time in-memory mass data processing for a growing variety of use cases. And I know that there's a quote on the screen here from Hanko Kaisner, the CEO of Packsize, and he really sees the vision of the ability to take all that information from all of Packsize's equipment throughout the world, and as Emil mentioned, being able to monetize and use that information to better serve customers and better manage the business. HANA has a very nice trajectory of use cases that will fit Packsize's needs, and it's really caught their attention as it has for many of you. Thank you, Emil.
Okay. So let me just move to the partnership relationship. And one of the things that has been a hallmark of the relationship with Bramasol is just how closely the executive leadership of both organizations have been in alignment to support our growth, because we are in a land race. A few years ago, we declared the land race. As we got more publicity, other companies started to take a look and said, wow, this is something that we really need to get into as well. And so, we realize that in a land race, you may have 18-month lead time, and we can't afford to slow down or have any hiccups in how we go about winning the land race. Bramasol's technical support makes sure that our systems are running consistently and reliably, and augmenting what we have internally. And then the overall ability to make sure that we can rely on Bramasol to make sure that any changes we have in our processes, our systems are immediately accounted for. And then relying on, again, Bramasol and SAP for best practices. I think Brent mentioned before, it's no use to reinvent the wheel if somebody already has a better solution. So when we first started working with Bramasol and SAP, we probably overbought, but we are now absolutely thrilled with the decision, and it's what has allowed us to grow at the rate we are and become scalable. So I'm going to turn it over to Dave and just have him talk a little bit about Bramasol in the manufacturing sector, and then we'll go to questions after that.
Thank you, Emil. And so just to wrap up the presentation, Packsize has enjoyed a lot of success in their use of SAP, and they really enjoyed a successful implementation process that was really powered by the collaboration of SAP and Bramasol in building or coming in with a certified all-in-one solution, which in this case was the industrial machinery and components designed for companies very much like Packsize that have a manufacturing element to them, as well as their core processes around sales, purchasing, finance, and the like. So leveraging that for the initial phases of the implementation, we were able to focus on the scope in question while having a baseline system that had other areas already pre-configured. We had expertise on our team that could assist and guide Packsize, as they mentioned, using this solution, and one really great thing that Packsize did, which can be a challenge for some companies, is they really did adhere to and leverage the solution as it came in as much as possible, and we didn't redo and rework every choice or every consideration. And that's one of the reasons why the project was even faster than expected, and it led into the opportunity to use other elements of the solution. So with that, we've been able to build our partnership with Packsize as a trusted partner for them through implementations, the additional support, and their initiatives such as the business objects and others. So with that, I would like to turn this over to Steve. I thank everyone up to now, and in the slide shown, you have the opportunity to contact Emil or Brent or myself, and you also may ask questions, and Steve can help you with that. So Steve?
Okay, well, thank you very much. Excellent presentation, gentlemen. As we begin with today's Q&A, though, we'd like to first ask the audience to please fill out a feedback form survey that is now going to open on your desktop. To complete this form, please press the Submit Answer button at the bottom of the page. We thank you in advance for filling out this form. Your participation in our survey will allow us to serve you better in the future. And now on to the question and answer portion of our event. As a reminder, to participate in the Q&A, just type your question into the text box located below the media player, and then click the Submit Question button. And it looks like, we do have time for a couple of questions. So let's get started right away. Brent, I have a question for you from William. How or why was this project able to be completed under the timeline?
Okay, thank you, Steve. That's a good question. We talked a little bit about the use of the SAP best practices and the templates. I'd like to talk maybe a little bit more about the importance of buy-in. We had, as I mentioned, great direction and leadership from our executive team, but one of the most critical things to do is to have buy-in on the team that will be using SAP and the team that will be implementing SAP. And at Packsize, we pride ourselves at being able to pull off big, complex projects, and kind of embedded into our culture as a company. And so we had that buy-in, and so we all got on board and knew there was no room for failure.
Okay, thank you very much. Emil, question for you from Jennifer. How do you see how HANA is fitting in your business as you continue to grow?
As we talked a little bit ago, it is all about data, the ability to access data, and then monetize that. And it's what our big customers are looking for. It's what our partners are looking for. Because as our machines produce real-time data, we can feed that data upstream or downstream, and they can make much better decisions. For example, in the small package delivery business, if you can fly a 767 instead of a 747, and you know how that beforehand, you can significantly reduce your shipping costs. So it sounds like a broken record, but it's about the software, it's about the data, it's an ability to generate real-time data and connect to the partners and big customers that also see a need for that data.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's see, we can squeeze in one more question here. This one's from Oliver. Brent, what made you choose SAP and then Business-All-In-One?
Yeah, so we've touched a little bit on this already, but I guess to summarize, we chose SAP because we wanted a robust system that would have the capabilities we needed, when we implemented, but also the capabilities we couldn't see at the time. We wanted it to be scalable as we continued to grow. We wanted to have greater visibility into our business, greater reporting capabilities, and that's why we chose SAP. The Business-All-In-One was a great way to package SAP for a mid-sized company like Packsize. So that's why we chose the Business-All-In-One.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Unfortunately, that is going to be all the time we have for today's Q&A and broadcast. So if we didn't get to your question during this live session, someone will follow up with you in the next few business days. And again, for more information, see the contact information and website here before you. And we want to thank you all for attending today's webinar, How Packsize Achieved Global Visibility into its Manufacturing Supply Chain with SAP, hosted by SAP Insider and presented by SAP. Shortly after this live event, we'll send you an email reminder so you can access this presentation on demand. And on behalf of our guests, Emil Bonn, Global VP of Organizational Effectiveness and Human Resources with Packsize, Brent Cowan, Global Direct Controller, Packsize, and also David Fellers, CEO of Bramasol Inc. We want to thank you for your time